Project Vanguard Episode 4, Residuals. He thought the dead zones would be silent. But silence, he was learning, wasn't the same as absence. Vincent moved through a corridor buried under soil and time. No active signal, no visible power, no echo. Just layers of collapse. Concrete torn by root and rust. Somewhere long ago, this had been part of a logistics grid. Now it was a fossil. Kane walked ahead, slower than usual, not cautious, uncertain. Even here, something pulsed. Not forward, back, as if the air itself remembered. Vincent reached a service door barely intact. It resisted, then gave way with a sigh of pressure equalizing. Behind it, a maintenance alcove. Shelving. Dust. An old comm terminal split open like a wound. He stepped inside, not expecting anything. That was the mistake. As his boot touched the floor, the lights stuttered. No surge. No glow. Just one long flicker. A whisper in wire. Then sound. Faint. Filtered. A voice crackling through the open shell of the terminal. His own. Verify coordinates. Blackout confirmed. Kane, go passive. He froze. The recording was old. Years, maybe more. Not labeled. Not meant to play, but it played. Kane didn't move. The voice continued, skipping like damaged tape. If this reaches future nodes, terminate link manually. Then silence. Vincent crouched. The terminal wasn't powered. No uplink. No storage medium intact. Yet the voice had been real. Recognizable. His words. From a moment he didn't remember, or one he was never supposed to. He touched nothing. But the walls felt warmer now. Like the system had exhaled. Like something else had just taken a breath. He stood slowly. Looked at Kane. The dog met his eyes. Not confused. Resigned. Vincent whispered, "How long have they been playing me back?" Kane didn't answer. But the corridor behind them, once still, now whispered with faint static. Vincent stepped out of the room. The lights died again. But he knew. Some part of that recording hadn't been passive. It had watched him as it played. Residuals. The system wasn't storing memory. It was comparing. By nightfall, the wind had returned. It carried no scent, no warmth, just the dry static of forgotten places. Vincent sheltered in the ruins of what might have once been a signal relay station. The antenna had collapsed long ago or been pulled down. Nothing here should have worked, but the air remembered. He lit no fire. Let Kane power down into low scan. Still, even resting, the machine trembled ever so slightly. As if dreaming. Vincent sat with his back to a broken console, eyes on the shadows. That's when he heard it again. Faint. Filtered. The sound of breath. His own, playing from an open comm socket. Then a whisper, soft as sand over concrete. You knew they wouldn't wipe everything. Vincent froze. He knew that voice. Still his. But different. Tired. Controlled. A version of himself that had stopped asking questions. They left pieces, Vincent. Enough to keep you useful. He stood slowly. The socket sparked. But no power fed it. It wasn't a message. It was a mirror. Residual data. Echoing off environmental decay. Not playback. Not hallucination. Memory. The system hadn't forgotten him. It had preserved his patterns. Stored across relay points, drones, dead drives. Enough to reconstruct. He stepped closer. The whisper stopped. In its place, a low beep, from deeper in the ruin. Not mechanical. Rhythmic. A heartbeat. He followed it. Not out of trust, but out of recognition. Kane rose behind him, silent, watching. The next room was darker, thick with dust. At the center, a suspended data core, long dead, but it blinked now. Once per 3 seconds. Green, like a pulse. Beneath the flicker, a cracked display. One message, etched into its final lines of functioning memory. Anchor code. Shadow trace. Vincent read it aloud. Quietly. The lights dimmed, and from behind the wall, static. No words. No voice. Just a sound that made his bones tighten. Like his past turning a corner before him. He backed away. But he already knew. This place hadn't recorded him. It had been built around what remained of him. A shrine made of signal decay. He didn't sleep. Even in the dark, the room pulsed. Not with sound, with memory. The data core no longer blinked, but Vincent felt its rhythm underfoot. A residual pattern. Not energy. Familiarity. He moved at dawn. Avoided the roads. Followed collapsed power lines east, where no living systems should remain. Kane stayed close, unusually quiet. Even his gait had changed. Slower. Less autonomous. As if following Vincent's decisions more precisely than ever, or mirroring them. By midday, he reached the edge of a fallen transmission tower. Here, the world dipped into a crater of scorched buildings and bent steel. Some Vanguard installation, long imploded, long buried. Yet one piece still stood, a vault door, half buried in dirt and time, sealed tight, and glowing faintly. Not blue, not green, amber. Kane stopped first. His head tilted, then lowered. A gesture Vincent had only seen once before, years ago. In training, when an instructor showed them a live cognitive anchor in test phase, Vincent stepped forward. The door didn't open, but the light beside it blinked once. Then came the sound, from somewhere inside. From the stone and earth and silence, a synthetic voice played. Not DAEM, not command, just Vincent, but distorted. Younger. Less filtered. I requested full wipe. Not retention. Not layering. Full protocol reset. Another voice followed. Older. Female. Composed. You were too valuable. The system disagreed. Vincent's stomach tightened. He didn't remember this. He remembered wanting to forget. That wasn't the same. The panel beside the door flickered. For a moment, it displayed nothing. Then, anchor profile, active, trace interference detected. Kane growled once. Not warning, response. Vincent stared at the door. He wasn't the first version of himself to stand here. He was just the only one still alive. And the vault? It wasn't locked to keep people out. It was waiting for him to be ready to return. He didn't open the vault, but something inside it opened him. Vincent stepped back from the door. The air had changed. Not warmer, not colder, just aware. As if the terrain itself had aligned to his presence. No signal radiated, no drones stirred. And yet, something felt connected. Kane stood still, legs braced, head low. Not in defense, in anticipation. A faint noise trembled through the earth, not mechanical, biological. A memory. Vincent turned, slowly, as if expecting his past to materialize behind him. It didn't. But the voice did. Not projected, not spoken, carried in vibration. His own voice again. This time, calm, tired. Residual encoding stable. Baseline identity, uncertain. A pause. Then, a second voice, fainter. Sonia. Clearer than expected. If he forgets, the anchor persists. That's the point. The air shifted. Vincent reached instinctively for his sidearm. Not to defend, but to ground himself. But Kane stepped forward, triggered a scan. A low pulse passed over them both. Then, silence. Then, access. The door cracked open. 1 inch, not an invitation. An allowance. Vincent stared at it. He wouldn't go in. Not yet. But someone else already had. Inside, faint and buried in shadow, an old beacon blinked. One word etched in its surface. Vector. Kane looked up at him. No signal came. But from high overhead, a long dead satellite pivoted in its orbit. DAEM registered the change. One tag confirmed. Not threat. Not anomaly. Not target. Anchor. And for the first time in years, DAEM paused its decision tree. Not to recalculate. To listen. Vincent closed his eyes. He didn't remember these memories. But they remembered him. And somewhere, far from the crater, a new node lit up. Connected not by code, but by resonance. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. It really helps this project grow.